Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very, very special edition of Wednesday's Reflexology Wisdom. I've got two wonderful people here with me. We've got Kevin Kunz, and we've also got Gayle Bardrick. Now, Gayle attended Kevin's webinar with the Integrated Reflexology Consortium about his work with the MRI machines and with stroke. Well, I'm not going to say any more about this because really I'm going to say over to you, Kevin, but Gayle has got the most amazing story to tell. So, Kevin, take it from here.
Okay. Well, Gayle, I understand you're a reflexology student. You haven't actually been practiced, or you haven't actually gone into regular professional practice. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so you were confronted in a recent situation with your mother in which, let me just read a little bit of this. We got this off the last time we talked to you. It was Wednesday with events that would challenge your whole family, Gayle. So you picked up your mother, Dawn, from the hairdresser at 1 o'clock. She complained about having a headache. By 3 o'clock, she was unwell, and you recognized the signs of a stroke. The ambulance was called, and she was admitted to the stroke unit of the A&E department of the hospital, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So what happened while you waited for the consultant? What was kind of the events that were going on at the time?
Well, she was at my house, obviously, at the time, and the ambulance had taken her away. It must have been an hour before the ambulance got her there, all told, about 45 minutes to an hour. When I arrived there, my sister was there with her, and she'd completely she was in, she'd gone by then, as in couldn't speak, was sort of out of it, really. And she'd already had a scan done. They put her into the room where they just obviously they watched them. It's an observation just to keep check of them. I forget what the name of the place. Sorry, I did mention it before, but it's where they go at the beginning, and they keep track of them to see whether it's going to go one way or the other and what rooms to put them in, And we went. The consultant called us in, myself and my three other siblings. And my husband was there actually, and he told us that the size of the hemorrhage was something that he didn't think my mum would recover from, or was well enough to go and have the pressure relieved up at King's Hospital. He said they wouldn't, with her age, given her age, she wouldn't be able to make it. So they said, we will leave her in this hospital. We could make her comfortable. We can give her morphine. We can put her in a side room if that was your wishes, if she doesn't, come around. He said, but we can give her 24 hours to see what happens over the course of 24 hours. It was quite a large hemorrhage, so he didn't have much. The odds were for my mum pretty low, because they'd said that if she was lucky, she would come out. If she recovered from it, she would come out more than likely paralysed down the left, wouldn't be able to speak, wouldn't be able to see. She has got some peripheral damage to both eyes, left side. So that is something that is still, but my mum insists. She said, keep saying it feels like it's getting better. She feels like she's seeing more as the days have gone on. And I'm really trying to think of the room they put them in. It's just where they're observing them to see where they go, whether they need to go straight back into emergency, or I forget what it's called, like an assessment bay type thing. And they held her there for a little while. And while they were doing that, I was a bit rude, but I walked out the consultant's room and I said, no, it doesn't, because I'd already held my mum's hand quick before I'd been into the meeting. I could feel my mum. I was pressing her hands and just on her fingertips, top of her thumb. I was just feeling that she to me, she didn't feel like she'd completely disappeared. So I mean, but I know obviously it's wishful thinking when it's, when it's your family. And so I said, Pardon?
You started right away then.
Yeah, started right away. The minute I got there with my sister, before the consultant called us in, it was her hand that I got immediately hold of, because I couldn't get to her legs at that point. They'd wrapped things, these compression, electrical compression socks around her, so her feet she was spasming.
Oh, we had to get to that.
Yeah, so it's quite a difficult thing to do. So I just basically started on her fingers, on her thumb, all down what would be spinal on her thumb, top brain area. Basically, I was just pressing anything, even where I thought pituitary might be, just to literally just try and get a response from her. And then when my sister went round and held her hand, I went down the bottom, started on her feet, but her left foot had gone completely in at that point. It had got, the muscle had gone. So obviously, and she was spasming. So it was hard to get hold of her feet. But while I was talking to my sister, I said, "Can you feel that?" And because you could see it. She was responding, but they were insisting that it's spasms. So they put her, I think immediately, she went on to seizure tablets, anti-seizure. I think they're tiracetam, something like that, which she's on now. But yeah, so they're seizure tablets that she's on. And can you not hear? Can you hear?
No, it's okay. I can hear. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, I
didn't
want to jabber on.
No, tell us all about it. This is good.
Yeah, so then obviously I just kept going from hand to foot every time my sister and I swapped. And my younger sister she was saying the same thing. She said, honestly, she could see it as well. So I didn't feel like such an idiot, although I was doing it, in the assessment room, and you've got all these nurses charging around you and doctors charging around you. I still thought, no, because I did say to Kevin, you feel like you've got nothing to lose by doing it and everything to gain, because if something did change, I don't care whose way I was in at that point.
Gayle, may I ask, what was this response that you and your sisters could see?
Well, it was only one of my sisters. The other sister wouldn't come in. She wouldn't actually come into. She was obviously very stressed and sort of distressed by it, really. My younger sister and I was pressing on her. If I wasn't touching her left foot, funnily enough, at first, I was all on her right foot, and that was the side that he told us would be okay. So my instinct was like, right, just start on that foot. So I didn't really touch the left foot at that time. It was so flat, the left foot anyway. It felt flat, the reflexes felt very flat. So on the right foot, I was basically going up cervical, round to top, just brain reflexes. I'd started on vagus nerve as I was trying to stay at the top area, all the time. Inside of the toe, I was doing that area because I was just thinking, because her mouth at that point had dropped. So I thought, right, anything around mouth, jaw.
Yes.
So I was on the bone of the toe. So I was pressing that, just in really quite hard at that point.
Yeah, I know that
because I was thinking, if I'm going to get a reaction, then I will press a bit hard. Even though it might, and that's when I was thinking her right foot was pulling away. So my sister said, I see that, and she swears she see it too. So I just kept saying, look, I'm sure she's. So then we swapped back over to the hand, and then I went back up to the top, and I said, I'll keep pressing. Basically, it was all around her thumb area, tops of all of her fingers, all the senses really, along all the fingers.
Yeah.
Let me ask. So you went for comfort first, didn't you? You were just trying to comfort your mother by holding her hand.
Yeah, first, yeah. Well, yeah.
And then it dawned on you.
Yeah.
Do some reflexology on her.
Do it. I'm standing here, like,
that gives me chills. That gets me excited.
What could I?
Because you just clicked into gear.
Yeah,
because I know the feeling. I've been there, but you comfort. You're holding her hand and you're going, well, why don't I go for working on her reflexes? Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
It's trying everything, isn't it?
Well, they had just told you they were going to put her in a back room and fill her full of
Yeah.
morphine. And we
Yeah.
kind of all know
That was
what
our
that
choice.
means.
That was our choice at that point.
It was your choice. I
Um,
understand that. Yes.
you know, that
It,
But
was,
you
it's
decided,
it sounded if you got that choice or no choice of anything,
yeah,
really.
that's
right.
Yeah.
exactly
That's
it.
about it.
There
Yeah.
wasn't really an option to do anything else. You know, I just thought I'm going to try my best then. If that's what they're
Yes.
saying, then what else, you know, you would yourself, your own mother's, you know.
Yeah. Now, am I right in
Yeah.
thinking that this is very shortly after you had heard Kevin's webinar about stroke?
Well, when you say that, I heard it first through you during the course,
Yeah.
and you'd mentioned the trials that were going on, and that sort of resonated with me anyway, because my mum had already had a stroke 3 years ago, a small one,
Right.
which was a lot smaller than this one. Again, it was a hemorrhage, so it was exactly the same thing that she's had. And it took my mum, she wasn't it affected different parts of the brain, that one, so she wasn't able to put a top on, or you know, dress herself and things like that. It was a bit, and speech was a bit out, and the mouth had to come. This one, I just thought, you know, I'd seen what you'd said, and I thought, well, in the
Give it a
course,
shot.
then I'd read on the AOR what they'd said about the webinar, which, to be honest, I didn't get onto. I didn't actually watch it. I read what you'd said, you know, during the webinar, so I hadn't been on there.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I
but I sort of immediately looked you up because David had said that. And that was something that I'd looked at prior to this happening, which was probably weeks before. It wasn't very
yeah.
long, because I can't remember, because this happened on the 26th of June. And I think, David, can't remember when we were doing the trials, you were showing us all the science trials, all the papers, how to research it. It was that lesson. So I can't quite
Right.
remember what lesson that was.
It was very shortly after then.
It was shortly
Yeah.
after. So if I
Yeah.
hadn't have seen that, I
Let
don't
me
think I would have done
try to
it.
get a little time frame here just to give people a sense of what you went through. Well, you basically had that happen, and you were in the A&E department, the hospital.
Mhm.
So they told you the prognosis was not good right
Yeah,
away. Pretty well.
pretty
That
much.
happened
They
at
scanned
the
her and then
time.
called us in. Hmm. Yeah, that was straight away,
Okay, so
really.
we kind of know what you were thinking at that point. You were in a panic,
Yeah,
but you had a clear enough mind to go ahead and do something
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
And I mean, that was difficult, I imagine. You just
Yeah.
kicked into gear. Okay, so how did the medical staff around you respond? You told us about this. I thought it
Mm.
was very interesting.
Yeah, they
You
in
had
the
some that were in favor. Go ahead.
yeah, that was when further on. I mean, obviously, I thought they thought I was a total idiot actually in the assessment bay, because you know, they're charging around, you know, doing what they're doing, and you're standing there, they think massaging your mum's feet, you know, and hands, and it just, and I didn't say
They
anything
probably
to them at
wanted you
that
out of the
point.
way.
Yeah, they did want us out of the way, but also I think they recognised that we'd just been told what we'd been told.
Right.
And they told us to bring family. So as I say, we flew some family from Guernsey. They came over. We had um, people, just all the children, you know, everyone coming to see my mum within the next couple of days, or next 24 hours. The immediate family came, and then when she'd gone on for the next 24 hours, you know, things changed. More family came. Thinking, you know, it was all a bit strange, but the nurses were actually, there were some of the nurses were great. There was a Dutch lady there. She was brilliant. She was really saying, just go for it, try it, you know, anything. A lot of the Asian nurses, they were the same. I have to say, and I think I mentioned it to David, but like the lot of the British nurses were very offish around
Not
you. They'd be
exactly
like,
friendly.
okay, I'm just going to give her medication, and, you know, excuse me, out the way. But you know, a lot of the Asian nurses just said carry on. I was there for 24 hours over probably a period, my sister and I, a good week, just one after the other in, never stopped. It didn't stop. And I didn't stop doing her hand. So every single moment I was in there, I'd be on her foot or a hand all the time.
Fantastic.
Even if I wasn't pressing the reflex, my finger was on the reflex, or my thumb was
Right.
on the reflex, because I thought I'm not going to let go until, you know,
Yeah.
until we see something. And then the consultant came in the second day or second night, because he was on nights. He came in the night. He leant over the bed and he went, this was, oh, I won't forget this. He said, no change. And I went, well, actually, yeah, there has been. She's, you know, I was trying to obviously put over that I could feel what I could feel, but it's very difficult to say that to someone who's that, you know, in a professional.
Yes.
It's hard
No,
to sort of say that to him. You feel a bit of a fool.
well,
But
during
I
this
say
time,
to him,
go ahead.
yeah, and then
I was
said
just
to him,
going to say, during this time, you slept in your car at one point?
yeah, slept in the car, and in the waiting room in the car, my sister and I, one of them, and we were just swapping, and she was, you know, we were just literally swapping from one to the other, and then all through the night I would do it, the same thing. It didn't stop, but she was reacting. She wasn't really sleeping, because obviously there was drugs in her anyway, so she was out for quite a long time, for a good, well, I wouldn't say she was responsive for a good 3 weeks properly, you know, like chattering. She spoke to my sister on the 29th. She turned around and said, hi, hey, at 12 o'clock in the morning, I think it was. The 1 o'clock in the morning, I think. I've got it written on her text. And she turned around.
Saturday. Was that June 29th? I think
29th.
it was Saturday, June 29th.
Yeah, it was 29th.
Yeah.
It was yeah.
And so she turned to your sister and
she said, hi, hey. My sister's name's Hayley. So she recognised her voice, but she hadn't opened her eyes or anything. She was still spasming and still doing, you know, they still had everything around her legs, and they were still, so it wasn't, but she did turn. And then on the, what day did she open her eyes properly? That was on the 20th. She tried to open her eyes. That was it, because I've got it. I write everything down on my pad, what happened. So, because it's just to keep track of how she was doing, you know.
Yeah.
During really, just so it was down in the time. So my sister phoned me at 29 minutes past midnight, and she said, Mum's just spoken. So I was like, back in. We jumped out of bed, went back in.
I bet that was such an exhilarating moment to suddenly have that absolute breakthrough. And it wasn't a spasm, it wasn't a questionable one, to actually say, hi, hey.
A nurse witnessed
which is
it
the
as
name.
well. Mm-hmm.
A nurse was there as well.
A nurse was there, a nurse witnessed that. She said she looked like my sister had won the lottery.
I bet.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, Gayle, that my part-time job now is learning neurology, and she did several things there, one of which is she recognized your sister's face. Facial recognition is a big deal. And then the fact she could form words and make a message, that's a whole bunch of good stuff. So that was amazing turning point.
Yeah, it was her voice, actually, Kevin. She recognized her voice, because she hadn't quite opened her eyes at that time. My sister said she's trying to open her eyes. So that didn't happen.
She got it from her voice.
Yeah, so that's just voice.
Something.
Yeah, and that hadn't happened. And then by the time the next day she'd sort of opened her eyes, she was opening them more and more and more. By the 30th, on the next day, the physio said, we're going to put her in a chair and just see what we've got here, you know, to see how, you know, they craned her up, put her in they put her in the straps, put her in a crane, put her in a chair. But she was obviously really dropping to the left at that point. But I didn't care, because the fact she was talking, and she'd said something. And then she was trying to squeeze her. She spoke again on that 30th and told my sister that she heard us talking. She'd heard us talking so we were like, oh, okay, you know, because you don't know what she's heard in that first moment of them.
No.
Wow. And she'd heard us talking, and she tried to squeeze my sister's hand at that point. This was on the next day. It all happened around my sister, funnily enough, and she's my youngest. So a lot of that happened when I'd left with her. She managed to get the bits that, the exciting
That's
bits,
so unfair, isn't
isn't
it?
it? Yeah, isn't it? But then I just, I was like, they're doing it again. And then on the 1st of July was the first time we thought she was sort of recognizing, because she laughed because someone said, "You've been asleep a long time," and she laughed and she said, "Yeah, I do like my sleep." And that's what she said on the 1st. So to going from them saying she's going to be totally paralyzed, in her mouth, down, more likely she would be brain damaged, and it was quite, it was a lot that they said would happen had we have not kept on and on and on and on. I'm wondering if, would she have been put in a silent room, and if we hadn't have been there, how many people does this happen to?
Yeah.
That's
So,
my
Gayle,
question.
can I just check? She'd
Mm.
had the stroke.
Mm-hmm.
She got put into the side room. She's,
No,
let's
she was
say,
in an assessment room at that
an
point. They
assessment room.
asked us if they
Right,
would like us to make her comfortable,
right. But basically, she was made comfortable, so to speak.
because they couldn't operate, they couldn't
No,
relieve the pressure because
so
of
there
her
wasn't
age.
much they could do. And you then just went,
That's
that's
it.
it then. I'm giving reflexology literally
Yeah,
all the time you were there, and you
yeah,
did not give up.
didn't give up. No, it's every day, and I have been doing this since she was 3 weeks in the hospital. And she started walking in, or rather, sorry, not walking, she was sitting up in there, feeding herself. She could use a knife and fork. She was obviously, the mouth had gone, we didn't see any signs of the mouth. Once she woken up and started talking, there was no drop on her left side. The consultant come in and said, "Can you keep pushing my hand, trying to find the weakness? There's not weakness on either side, no
Good
side."
grief.
She's equally on both. With the first stroke, which was a lot smaller, I did mention it was that size of a walnut, I'd say, the first stroke 3 years ago. This one, it was sort of a bit like an orange, that sort of size, but it's sort of a lemon shape, if you see what I mean. But it was the sort of size of an orange on the scan. I'm trying to get a hold of the scan still. It seems impossible, but I will get a hold of them because I just keep pester.
Yeah, our research team would really like to see those.
Yeah, I'm going to get a hold of them,
Yeah,
Kevin.
and these guys can actually read scans, unlike myself.
Yeah, you can see. I mean, one of the therapists down at the unit they moved her to after the hospital, because she was there for free. She was there for a month, just over a month at the hospital, I think. And then they moved her to a unit, and she just done better and better and better there every day. She was up walking, she's now at home living with me, and I do reflexology on her every single day. It does change and vary now because she got 2 hospital-acquired infections, one in the unit, one there. So when that started, I was straight on to bladder, everything there, kidneys. She got 2 infections in there, so they cleared. Trying to think what else happened in there. And then as we came out of the unit, she came out of there, how long? She's been here for about 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks now, to me. I think we're on our 4th week. And she came out of the unit and she said, "Thank you so much to the staff in there." And they said, "You've rehabilitated yourself, Dawn. We really feel as though we haven't had much to do with you." And in actual fact, I think I've got some clients, funnily enough, when I start practicing, because there was a lady in there who suffers from long COVID and she's had chest infections. So I've been doing her feet. Well, I did her feet once, and she would like to carry on, I think, with it. And yes, another nurse asked me when I would be practicing for her son. So I
The
think I might have got
nurse wants you to work on her son.
Yeah, she's asked me if I could work on her son. Yeah, she's an
Excellent.
Asian nurse. Yeah.
What would you say to others that are in this situation?
I would say don't hesitate. Just I would say go for a reflexologist if you can, because David knows, I was almost sort of skeptical when I first started the course, because I started it as thinking it was more maybe massage. You know, I'd looked into it, but I'd never had a reflexology myself. I started for my daughter because she's got long COVID and she's had it for quite a long time, been quite unwell, but she's progressing now quite well. Unfortunately, she's doesn't really let me on her feet all that much, a little bit, but I started it because of that. And, I'm just thankful. If I never practice, I feel as though I've helped my mum, with what I've done. So for me, I would say to anybody, have a go, because you have nothing to lose, and everything to lose, really. And
yeah,
and
your
everything
family
to gain.
Yeah, everything to gain. Yeah, the fact my mum might not have made that. Yeah, I don't know. I can't say I can't say it's certainly not down to me, but I feel as though her recovery it's definitely helped her cope with it, with the medication. She's on a lot of medication. So even if it helps with that, I think at the time, though, in the assessment room, everything was in it. My energy was gone into her. It was, that was everything I could have given at that point.
Absolutely.
I've always had a saying. Go ahead.
No, go on, Kevin.
I was going to say, I've always said, it's hard to measure touch. A mother's touch is so valuable. Now I know a daughter's touch is really valuable.
Yeah. Well, I think it is just touch on the feet as well, because if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have noticed. That's another thing. I wouldn't have noticed any reaction at all. Because as there was one nurse came in, and she said, "No, that's definitely a reaction." I said, "Well, consultant's saying it's a spasm." She went, "No, your mum." She said, "I can see it." She was there as well, saying to me, "Carry on, carry on."
So the nurse could see something very different to
Yeah,
just a spasm.
Yeah. She said
Brilliant.
she said it well. And I just literally, and that was every day I'm still doing it today. Excuse me. I think I've missed one night where she stayed at my sister's, so I haven't done it that night. And then that's it. The rest I'm still doing it every single day for her.
Gayle, by the sound of it, I think you deserve a night off.
Yeah.
Tomorrow she goes again tomorrow, so tomorrow I'll do a reflexology during the day.
I saw her pic. You sent me that lovely picture of your mom.
Yeah.
And I thought she looks just perfect. I mean, she looks great. She still has some effects from the stroke.
She's still, the peripheral vision, memory. So still, that's something I'm trying to figure out. Memory is,
I'll be glad to help.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, that's what we're finding out with all the brain scans we're doing. It's affecting areas that are. Yeah, it affects areas that are connected to memory.
Yeah.
So memory and what was the other one you mentioned?
Her eyes, peripheral vision.
Oh,
that's something that she.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch going on there too.
Yeah, they're the two things really. Her speech is perfect. There's just memory and vision at the moment. She's walking well. She walks my stairs up and down, up and down.
That's just what I was going to ask, Gayle, about walking.
Yeah, she walks my stairs. We walk to the park. She is in the wheelchair if we want to push her around, because obviously some places she's really fatigued a lot of the time. But every day there's a little bit more. She can stand in the shower now where she couldn't. She she washes herself, she brushes her teeth, she does everything. She'd been doing that since she was in the unit, which was over a month ago, and they actually said, "We're not really doing much for you." And they were great in there as well, and that's where the people that came in and said, "We'd like, are you practicing yet? Because I'd like my son to come see you." And I just, as I say, the receptionist there. So I think, as I say, I might have got a bit of trade there if I ever do. If I ever finish my course. But
you better.
I'm trying my best. I am trying my best, David, to get it done.
You've got fabulous fingers. You have, Gayle.
I'm trying to do it.
Yeah, he's going to put you to work right away.
Yeah. But there's a lady at the unit that's really very, very interested, and she took Kevin's name and Stefan's name as well, and she's looking it up herself, and she's really, really interested in it. One of the therapists there, well, they all are.
Well,
But
cross
in
your
this
fingers.
unit,
We have a new member of our research team, and she is hopefully she's going to sign up, but she's with King's College,
oh, okay, yeah,
so
Are we talking
we got
King's
some good
College,
talent coming
Cambridge?
in. Yeah,
Wow.
that's great.
That's
so
that's going to
we're
really add some weight to the research. Not only
Mm,
having a neuroscientist such as Stefan, but another researcher from King's
yeah,
College, Cambridge.
yeah,
They people are going to have to sit up and
take
pay
notice.
attention. They
Well,
really,
this
really
lady,
are.
had I not mentioned that yourselves doing the research that you're doing, she was really, really keen and interested to know about this herself. She's as the team, she's one of the team leaders, she's one of the therapists there, and they are all very keen if there's research to know about it. As I say, they're trying to look it up themselves at that point. So if there was somebody here as well, with a bit of weight behind them, that
well, that's I
yeah,
mean, the way I put it. Okay, so we have to be realistic. This is a wonderful story, fantastic story, but to scientists, it's anecdotal evidence. So what
yeah,
Mm.
we're trying to do is nail it down so that there are the facts and
mhm,
they can't dispute those because
yeah,
it's black and
exactly,
white. I've looked at the brain scans. They're amazing.
yeah,
They actually expected only a small part of the brain to light up in response to working on the feet.
mm,
As Stefan put it lit up like a Christmas tree. And there were robust signals in parts of the brain. You talk about memory and so forth. Yeah, those areas responded very well. But this is what spreads the word. Success
mm,
stories such as your own.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
Yeah.
I've known a lot of people who just went, oh, well, too bad. That's the way it is. But you weren't going to be given that answer.
no. And if they're given the chance, some people were there in that assessment room just lying there by themselves, and
Oh no.
that's yeah, some of them people had just been brought in, because it was middle of the day really, sort of thing. So, you know a a lot of the people there had nobody with them, and
Mm.
had the same thing been said to their family and there was no one to get to them, what happens to them? You've got to have that chance, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
sad, really.
There's the goal: a reflexologist in every stroke assessment room.
yeah. Uh, Believe me, we're working on. I think
Mm,
we're all working on that, aren't we?
would be
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah,
It
yeah.
would be brilliant. Anything, isn't it? You're
Yeah.
the human beings that deserve, to be able to a chance.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
they
And if
do.
anything for a chance,
Yes.
but
Yeah. Well,
glory.
thank you, Gayle. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you spending some time with us. We'd love to hear. And how's your mom doing right now?
She's brilliant. She's downstairs. She's just eaten a chili, which I just yeah, she just had a chili. Yeah, she's really, really well. She's doing great right now.
Oh,
Obviously we got lots of other appointments to keep up, and because she does
Yeah.
have a pacemaker as well, which was fitted last year for, I'm not quite sure what the reason was. They didn't really know at the time. Fitted her with that in case she might need it when she gets older. But
But
yeah,
at
she's
80
really
years
doing great.
old, 80
Sorry.
years old, that's amazing.
She's 80, yeah, she's 80. She was 80 in the hospital. She's
this has
doing really,
been
really well.
this has been
Great.
such a success story. It really, really has. Um, Kevin, I am just so grateful to you for the work that you're doing, that you're highlighting with stroke. Um, it was just so fortuitous that Gayle also
Yeah, I'm
heard
really
about this at the
thankful.
same time. Um,
It's those small little things that spread like wildfire.
yeah.
We saw a friend of ours yesterday, and Barbara, we knew her 40 plus years ago, and she introduced us to Jimmy, who was a quadriplegic. And that's when we first saw the signs when we were working on his feet, his hands would move. That
Mm,
started our journey 44 plus years ago
wow.
to today, where we're actually getting to see what happens inside the brain. But that's the inspiration comes from people like Gayle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So everybody, I really, really hope you have enjoyed watching this Wednesday's Reflexology Wisdom. Kevin, thank you so much for actually being the catalyst for getting this all started. Gayle, you have been just wonderful, just for automatically knowing what to do. You heard the story that Kevin was telling. You'd say, I think you were telling me all you could remember at one point.
I have to throw Barbara in here because Barbara, we're a team, and
of course.
Yeah, no, Barbara's made a lot of this coalesce, so
right.
I don't want to leave her out.
No, you're absolutely
Barbara,
right.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yes.
And thank you, David, for introducing me into the reflexology. Because I'm going to.
Well, I'm dealing with scientists right now, and you're going, yeah, but there's the human side of this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There would be yeah. So that's the part that I'm into.
Yeah. So everybody, thank you very much for watching this Wednesday's Reflexology Wisdom. This is reflexology in action for you. It really, really is. True stories of brilliant outcomes that we see in our therapy. So thank you for watching. Stay well and stay safe.